Honourable Member for Calgary McKay-Nose Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It really is an honour to bring forward Motion 511. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly urge the government to recognize a day each year to promote the awareness and prevention of concussions. A concussion is a traumatic brain injury that affects brain function, and it can happen when there's a hit to the head or the body that causes the head and brain to move rapidly back and forth. Everyone likely knows someone who has had a concussion, and any measures that can be taken to reduce the number of concussions that occur to Albertans and to improve the outcomes for those who do receive concussions are important in improving the quality of life of the people of our province. It's difficult to quantify the problem. While some statistics are available for sports-related injuries, on average 3 to 5% of all sport and recreational injuries are head injuries. This number doesn't reflect the other ways concussions can occur, like workplace injuries or accidents in the home or head injuries from motor vehicle accidents. What we do know is that even a mild concussion can be very serious, and repeated concussions have been shown to result in chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a neurodegenerative disease associated with repeated brain injury. And we regularly see stories in the news of former professional athletes who suffered the effects of CTE, grappling with depression, diminished cognitive capacity, and personality changes. And CTE is only diagnosed on autopsy of the person suffering from it. The disease is often associated with hockey and football players, and both the NHL and NFL have developed protocols to begin to address the issue. Ty Posabon, the 2016 Professional Bull Riders Canada champion, took his own life in January of this year after suffering the effects of 13 concussions in the pursuit of his dream. Education and awareness are vital to preventing devastating outcomes like this. Today in Alberta, there is a gap in the information available to diagnose and treat concussion and the instructions concussion patients receive. And there's a lack of awareness of concussion treatment protocols among people who are most likely to be on site when someone gets a concussion. Concussions aren't necessarily life-threatening, but they are serious. Even a mild concussion can mean months of recovery and rehabilitation, and the symptoms of concussion are not easy to deal with. Convulsions or seizure, inability to wake up, unremitting headache, weakness, numbness, or decreased coordination, vomiting, nausea, confusion, slurred speech, loss of consciousness. Some of these symptoms can appear right away, while others can show up days or months or even years after the traumatic event. And symptoms of concussion can be different in small children than they are in other people. Rowan's Law was passed in the Ontario Legislature in 2016. This private member's bill, introduced by MPP Lisa MacLeod, came about as the result of an inquest into the death of a 17-year-old young woman there, Rowan Stringer, who was a loving, nurturing person who was also an avid rugby player. Rowan died on Mother's Day 2013 after suffering 2 concussions that week. Recently, backers of Rowan's Law, including Eric Lindros, who quit the NHL because of concussion injuries, Montreal Canadiens physician Dr. David Mulder, and Nepean Carleton MPP Lisa MacLeod, who introduced the legislation in Ontario, released an open letter to federal, provincial, and territorial health ministers, calling for their jurisdictions to follow Ontario's example of enacting legislation aimed at preventing and identifying youth concussions, particularly in sport. Establishing a provincial concussion prevention and awareness day that is observed every year is an important step in closing the gap between the information that is available to prevent and diagnose and treat concussion, and getting that information to the people who can help prevent concussions from happening and the people who are on the scene when they do occur, like minor sports coaches and parents and teachers in our elementary, junior, and senior high schools. We all know someone who's had a concussion. Some of us have likely had our bells rung ourselves. Concussion is far too common, and the effects are often devastating. By passing this motion, we help people facing concussion in the future and hopefully prevent some of them from occurring at all.
Here, here.